In Revenge of the Sith, Mustafar is where the story turns into a coffin. It is the place where love shows up one last time, reaches for Anakin Skywalker, and gets burned for trying. But what if it did not fail? What if, on that black landing platform, with lava light crawling across his face, Anakin did the one thing Palpatine never planned for? What if he chose to run away with Padme? Let's begin. Mustafar is loud even when nobody speaks. Vents hiss like the planet is breathing through cracked teeth. The air tastes like metal and ash. Behind him, the Separatist leaders he just executed are cooling an artificial twilight, and the droids still stand guard like the war has rules. Anakin grips the railing and stares into the fire, trying to feel like a victor, and failing. Then Padme's ship descends, silver against a sky that looks like it is bleeding. She runs down the ramp and throws herself into his arms like she can physically drag him back from the cliff. His hands are still trembling when he holds her. Padme looks up at him, eyes wet, and she doesn't deliver a speech. She offers a door. "I saw your ship," she says. "Come away with me. Help me raise our child. Leave this behind while we still can." Anakin's throat tightens. He wants to say yes immediately. He also wants to argue because admitting he needs to run means admitting he got played. "We don't have to run," he says. "I can protect you. I have the power now. No one will ever hurt you." Padme cups his face like she is searching for the boy she met on Tatooine under the heat and the anger. "We can't build a home out of fear," she whispers. "I don't want a throne, Anakin. I want you. I want our children to grow up free." Children, plural. It lands hard. Not a fantasy, not a title. 2 lives he has not met yet, and they are already asking for a version of him that doesn't exist in Palpatine's world. Anakin's gaze drops to the scorch marks on the platform. His voice breaks in a way it never does in front of troops. "I've killed so many people," he says. "Masters who taught me, children who trusted me. How do I live with that?" Padme doesn't pretend it's fine. She doesn't erase it for him. "One day at a time," she says. "By choosing to be better tomorrow than you were today. By being the father our children deserve." Ash sweeps across the platform. Anakin looks back at the control center, at the hollow prize he thought would fix everything. Then he looks at Padme again and understands what she's actually offering. Not victory, a life. "Okay," Anakin says, and it comes out small, almost scared. "Yes, we go now." He turns toward the ramp, and the force shifts. Not like an explosion, like a quiet door opening in a house that should be empty. Padme feels it too. She stiffens, eyes snapping up. Obi-Wan Kenobi steps into view at the top of the ramp. Dusty, exhausted, not furious yet, just devastated in a way that makes the silence feel heavier than the lava wind. Anakin's pupils tighten. The yellow in his eyes flares like a warning light. "You brought him," he snaps, anger spiking fast. "You brought him here to kill me." Padme jerks her head, shocked. "No," she says. "Annie, I didn't know he was here." Obi-Wan's voice stays careful, like he's speaking to someone bleeding out. "Anakin, I've seen the temple," he says. "I've seen the recordings, but she's right about one thing. This doesn't have to keep going. Surrender. Face justice." Anakin's laugh is bitter. "Justice from who? The Council? The Senate? There's nothing left." Obi-Wan doesn't deny it. That's what hurts about him. "Running won't change what you've done," he says. "And the dark side won't let you stop unless you choose to stop." Padme steps between them before words turn into blades. "Stop," she says. "Obi-Wan, did you come here to save him or to end him?" Obi-Wan swallows. "I came to stop him from hurting you." Padme turns back to Anakin and her eyes don't plead. They demand an answer. "And you," she says, quieter now, "do you want to keep moving toward more darkness, or do you want to turn around while you still can?" Anakin stands there on the edge of the old ending. Quick, violent, final. But shame hits first, and shame means he can still see himself. He looks at Obi-Wan, then at Padme, then at the ship behind her. "I meant what I said," Padme adds, steady as a stone. "We leave together, not as rulers, not as Sith, as a family." Obi-Wan's face tightens. "Palpatine will hunt you," he warns. "He will never let his apprentice walk away." Anakin nods once. "Then we make sure he can't find us." This is the point where Obi-Wan could force the story back onto rails. And it's the point where Anakin could burn the last bridge he has. Obi-Wan exhales. "I won't stop you," he says, and it costs him. "But if you're serious, you don't get to pretend the galaxy isn't burning. When the moment comes, be ready to do the right thing." Anakin doesn't answer with pride. He answers like a man who finally understands the bill is real. He takes Padme's hand, and they step up the ramp together. Obi-Wan watches the ship seal. Then he moves to an exterior panel and makes one quiet change, the kind you only notice when you're being hunted. A transponder forced quiet. No beacons screaming their location the instant they break atmosphere. The engines rise. Padme's ship lifts into Mustafar's ash-choked sky, and with it goes something Palpatine never learned how to command. A choice made for love. Obi-Wan doesn't stay to admire it. He steals a utilitarian shuttle from a hangar, threads through smoke and industrial traffic, and disappears before Imperial eyes can lock onto him. Across the galaxy, Palpatine sits in his office like a man listening for a heartbeat that belongs to him. Then it's gone. His eyes open, and the fury is immediate. Not because Anakin is dead, because Anakin refused. "No," Palpatine whispers, "this will not stand." His orders go out like a knife. "Find Skywalker. Bring him to Coruscant. And if his family is the price, so be it." Obi-Wan returns to Coruscant bruised and starving for time. He meets Yoda in the underlevels beneath the Senate, where sound gets eaten by stone and distance. "You trust in Senator Amidala," Yoda says, not accusing, not comforting. "She's the only one he listens to," Obi-Wan replies. Yoda's ears droop slightly. "Dangerous, it is, but changed. The path has." They strike for the Chancellor's office, now the Emperor's. What happens is not a clean duel. It is two hunted Jedi clashing with a monster wearing civilization like a mask. Blue and green ignite. Red answers. Lightning turns the air into a storm. The room becomes broken metal and screaming energy. And Palpatine keeps reaching for the familiar surge of his new enforcer in the Force, only to find absence. That doesn't make him weak. It makes him angry. They don't kill him. They can't. Not with clones already moving, not with Coruscant turning into a cage around them. They escape into the city as the Empire's banners rise and the Republic's last breath gets rewritten into propaganda. Yoda vanishes into shadow. Obi-Wan hears Palpatine's laughter in his ears and carries the loss like a physical weight. Before they separate, Yoda leaves him with something that sounds like instruction and prayer at the same time. Hope, protect, prepared, be. Obi-Wan doesn't go back to the temple. There is nothing left to save there. He goes to the people who can still move without being crushed instantly. Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, a quiet handful of senators who have been watching the Republic rot and pretending they can't smell it. When Obi-Wan tells them what happened on Mustafar, Bail's face tightens. Mon's eyes sharpen like she's doing the math. "He walked away," she says, testing the words. "Skywalker walked away from Palpatine." "He did," Obi-Wan replies. "Which means the Emperor will never stop hunting. And it means we can't afford to lie to ourselves about what Skywalker could still become." Yoda appears in person when it's safe. "Rare it is," he says, "but possible." Bail leans in. "Then we build for it," he says. "Routes, quiet worlds, places the Empire won't bother to look. And we watch," Obi-Wan adds. "If he turns again, we act." Yoda nods once, grave. "Abandon him. We will not. Blind to danger. We must not be." The Empire settles in fast. Clones still fill its ranks, but the machine is already shifting. New recruitment speeches. New armor and holofeeds. Governors speaking with a confidence that used to require a Senate vote. The Jedi become a whispered rumor blamed for treason. And Palpatine doesn't need Vader to terrify the galaxy yet, because he has law, fleets, and a story that makes obedience feel like stability. On the edge of the Outer Rim, there is a small settlement near a pristine lake. Poor enough to be ignored, quiet enough to feel fake. Padme bends over two bassinets in a modest dwelling overlooking the water. Luke sleeps with his fist curled by his cheek like he's holding on to a dream. Leia stirs, longer than she should, eyes open as if she's already listening to the world. "Your father will be back soon," Padme murmurs. "And it's not just for the babies, it's for her." Outside, Anakin sits at the shoreline with his boots in the sand. Meditation used to be discipline. Now it's punishment. When he reaches through the Force, he doesn't find peace. He finds consequences. Jedi being hunted, curfews tightening, patrols moving through streets that used to cheer the Republic, and behind it all, Palpatine, a presence like a shadow behind glass. Anakin's hands clench, and the water ripples. Padme sits beside him like she belongs there, because she always has. "You can't carry the entire galaxy," she says. "I can feel them," Anakin admits. "I gave him the opening." "You also gave our children a chance to exist," Padme says. "That matters." Anakin turns, hollow. "Is this love?" he asks. "Or am I just hiding?" Padme doesn't get to answer. The Force shifts again, ships, fast, focused, moving straight for them. Anakin is on his feet instantly. "Take them," he says. "Get to the ship." Padme moves without argument, fear turned into precision. Supplies, twins, Luke crying the moment the emotion spikes, Leia watching, too quiet. Padme activates an emergency device with a code Obi-Wan gave her for one reason only: dire circumstances. Far away, Obi-Wan feels the signal like a hook in his spine. He rises from meditation, turns to Bail and Mon already bent over routes and risks. "It's time," he says. "Ships in range?" Mon asks. 3 corvettes, Bail answers. "Closest is under Captain Ramus Antilles." Yoda's presence settles into the room like gravity. "Go, we will," he says. On the lake world, 2 patrol craft descend. Troopers deploy in clean lines, blasters up, boots hitting sand like a drumbeat. Anakin stands between them and is home with his saber still dark, because the first move matters when your children are behind you. A commander steps forward. "Anakin Skywalker, by order of Emperor Palpatine, you will surrender yourself for transport to Coruscant." "I don't answer to beam," Anakin says. The commander's mouth tightens. "Your family's safety depends on your compliance." For a heartbeat, the old answer rises in Anakin, eager and ugly. He forces it down. Invisible pressure closes around the commander's throat, not enough to kill, just enough to make the threat feel weak. The man claws at his neck, troopers shifting aim in panic. "Choose your next words carefully," Anakin says. He releases him. The commander collapses, gasping. Rifles rise. Then the sky lights up. 3 corvettes drop out of hyperspace already hot. The patrol craft tries to pivot and dies mid-thought. Turbo laser fire lances down. Sand erupts. The lake shudders. A familiar voice cuts through Anakin's calm. "Anakin," Obi-Wan says. "We're here. Get your family to extraction." Anakin's chest tightens. "Obi-Wan." Yoda's presence touches his mind next, ancient and steady, guiding them toward the landing zone. A shuttle descends through chaos. Yoda hits the sand like a small storm, green blade turning incoming fire into sparks. He escorts Padme and the twins with a focus that makes every trooper feel like they're fighting the Force itself. And then the commander does what Palpatine always counts on. He draws a sidearm, not at Anakin, but toward the dwelling behind him. "The Emperor wants you alive," he sneers. But he said nothing about them. Time slows. Anakin ignites his saber and flings it with purpose. Blue light cuts through ash. The blade takes the commander's wrist clean. The weapon spins away into sand. Troopers surge forward. Anakin doesn't become a butcher. He becomes a barrier. Disarms, redirects, knocks rifles away, controlled, deliberate, refusing to prove the Empire's story. The last trooper drops unconscious under a measured strike. The shoreline burns anyway, scorched in the chaos. As the shuttle lifts to join the corvettes, alarms scream. New contacts, bigger ones. A formation of Imperial capital vessels drops out of hyperspace like steel arriving to collect a debt. Tractor beams lock on. The corvettes are snagged and dragged into a hangar bay wide as a canyon. The doors close behind them with the finality of a tomb. They are marched into harsh light. An Imperial officer steps forward with calm confidence. Wilhuff Tarkin, thin, precise, cruel in a way that looks like administration. "General Skywalker," Tarkin says, savoring the title like mockery. His gaze slides to Padme, then to the twins. "Senator Amidala, how domestic." Padme shifts to block him. Tarkin smiles anyway. "Children of such potential deserve proper guidance." You won't touch them, Anakin says. You hardly seem in a position to bargain, Tarkin replies. Take Skywalker to interrogation. Maximum restraints, the Emperor will want him intact. Durasteel cuffs clamp onto Anakin's wrists, reinforced for a Force user. The real restraint isn't metal. It's the knowledge that one uncontrolled moment puts Padme and the twins in a blaster's line. In interrogation, Tarkin keeps his voice calm. You've complicated the Emperor's plans, he says. I ended my loyalty the moment I saw what he was, Anakin replies. And yet you served well enough when it suited you, Tarkin says and drops the words like poison. The Temple, the younglings. Anakin's jaw tightens. No defense matters. The Emperor has plans for your children, Tarkin continues. Your wife is less valuable. Heat rises in Anakin's chest. He forces it down again, then a comm chime interrupts. Tarkin straightens. Take him to detention. I want him alive when I return. It was reconnaissance. At a checkpoint, more troopers join the escort. Confident, procedural, 4 guards for 1 prisoner. Anakin speaks softly. Palpatine promised you order. Did he give you peace or just targets? A trooper snaps, no talking. Anakin's smile is thin. He promised me everything too, he says. It turned to ash. A blaster clicks wrong. A small malfunction. A guard glances down. That's enough. Anakin slams cuffed hands upward, drops 1 trooper instantly. He pivots, drives the restraints into another helmet like a hammer. Blaster fire erupts. Anakin drags a fallen body into the line as cover, snatches a sidearm, fires twice. Clean, fast, final. He grabs a keycard and triggers an emergency release. Across detention, cell doors unlock. Prisoners flood corridors, confused for a breath, then desperate. Political detainees, rebel sympathizers, people who have been waiting to hate the Empire out loud. Anakin takes the ship-wide comm. This is Anakin Skywalker, he says. The ship is compromised. Find weapons. Fight back. On the bridge, alarms pile up. Tarkin's comm cracks. All prisoners? He demands. All of them, sir. Retake detention, Tarkin snaps. Too late. Obi-Wan and Yoda emerge into a corridor already becoming war. They find Anakin moving with a focus that startles Obi-Wan because it isn't rage. I was wondering when you'd move, Obi-Wan says, breath tight. Yoda taps his cane once. Press forward. We must. They fight as a unit, 3 Jedi who should not exist in the same corridor anymore. Blaster bolts, sabers, prisoners rallying behind them like a wave finding a current. They reach Padme's section. She grips a captured rifle she barely knows how to hold. Bail and Mon coordinate freed detainees through stolen comms. Padme's eyes find Anakin, and the galaxy narrows to a family in the middle of steel and smoke. Then every screen flickers to Tarkin's face. You have 60 seconds to surrender, he says, or I vent this entire detention block into space. The air feels thinner, like the ship is already preparing to become a grave. To the bridge, Yoda snaps. They run like people racing a clock. At sealed blast doors, there's no time for subtlety. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda push together and rip them free with a shriek of tortured metal. The bridge erupts into chaos. Yoda disarms Tarkin with humiliating efficiency. Anakin slams environmental controls into lockdown. The venting threat dies. Tarkin glares. Mon Mothma steps into the captain's chair and opens a wide channel. Imperial forces, she says, calm enough to sound inevitable. This ship is under seizure by loyal citizens of the Republic. Stand down. The response isn't negotiation. Turbo laser fire. The other Imperial ships fire on their own flagship rather than let Skywalker vanish. Obi-Wan's voice goes low. They'll kill us all to keep you from disappearing. Anakin stares at the stars and finally accepts the brutal math. Running never ends while Palpatine lives. Set course for Coruscant, he says. Mon turns. That's the heart of Imperial power. Exactly, Anakin replies. He built this on fear. I'm removing the hand that holds it. Yoda studies him. Dangerous beyond measure. Anakin looks at Padme holding the twins. I won't raise them in hiding forever. Obi-Wan steps in beside him. Then we do it together. Near Coruscant, defense platforms and patrols ring the planet, too many guns to brute force. Anakin doesn't try. He broadcasts on every Imperial frequency. "Palpatine," he says, "you want me. Come and take me, face to face." Silence. Then the reply slides in, smooth as poison. "My young friend," Palpatine purrs, "you think love makes you strong? You will learn that only through loss can true power be achieved." The Imperial formation shifts, opening a corridor toward the surface, an invitation so obvious it's almost laughing. Anakin recognizes the arrogance and still chooses to walk into it, on his terms. He takes a shuttle. He doesn't go alone. Padme's hand finds his arm. "I've already lost you once," she says. "I won't do that again." Yoda's voice is firm. "Finish this, we will." Obi-Wan nods. No lecture left. Only absolve. The shuttle descends through Coruscant's night toward a palace that feels less like a building and more like a throat waiting to swallow the galaxy. In the throne room, Palpatine waits among trophies stolen from the fallen. The chamber hums with old evil, designed to make visitors feel small. When Anakin steps in, Palpatine feels what's wrong immediately. No leash, no obedient fury, just a man who chose something else. Anakin ignites his saber. "It ends here," he says. "Your empire, your corruption, all of it." Palpatine smiles. "When you die, your Padme will watch," he whispers. "Then I will take your children." The old Anakin would have answered with violence that proved Palpatine right. This one answers with memory. Padme's voice on Mustafar, Luke's tiny fist, Leia's steady stare, Obi-Wan letting them go. The fight detonates, red against blue, lightning cracking the air, sparks scattering across relics that don't deserve to survive. Palpatine presses for the moment Anakin breaks and confirms love is weakness. Anakin gives ground toward a massive viewport over the city. The glass trembles. Then the doors open again. Obi-Wan enters, blade ready. Yoda follows. And with them comes a small squad of clones who chose pain and surgery over obedience, brought here by Bael's network because someone had to prove the Empire's control could be cut. Palpatine's expression tightens, not fear, a flash of pure irritation. "You cannot defeat me," he snarls. "I am the Empire." Anakin's voice is steady. "You're just a man," he says. "A frightened one." Palpatine unleashes lightning like rage made visible. 3 sabers rise, catch the storm, bend it back. Reflected power slams into Palpatine's body. His scream tears through the Force like something rotten finally being burned out. When it's over, the throne room is wreckage, and the Sith are gone. The Empire doesn't vanish in a single clean moment. It stutters. It fractures. Governors panic. Fleets hesitate. Worlds that have been waiting for a reason stop whispering and start moving. Some clones keep following orders because that's all they've ever been allowed to be. Others break in different places at different speeds, remembering names and faces the Empire told them to forget. Mon Mothma pulls surviving senators into emergency session. Bael moves relief routes and allies. The galaxy starts trying to become a government again. And in the middle of it, Anakin holds his son. Padme places Luke in his hands while she keeps Leia close, and Anakin's breath catches because for the first time in a long time, he is not performing a role. He is simply present. Peace does not erase what he did. The temple happened. The dead stay dead. The galaxy doesn't forget because one villain fell. A provisional tribunal forms once the fires stop spreading. Senators and surviving Jedi and military leaders trying to rebuild law out of rubble. The evidence is brutal. The testimony hurts. Obi-Wan speaks anyway. Yoda speaks anyway. Padme doesn't beg for absolution. She argues for something harder, accountability with purpose. The verdict is not a clean pardon. It is conditional mercy shaped by necessity and truth. Anakin is allowed to live, to rebuild, to spend his life paying a debt that can never be fully paid. The Jedi who remain don't recreate the old order exactly as it was. They can't. They keep discipline, but they stop pretending love is automatically corruption. They teach responsibility without turning the heart into a crime scene. On Naboo, far from palaces and banners, Padme walks the lake country carrying Leia while Luke sleeps in Anakin's arms. Anakin teaches them the Force the way it should have been taught to him. not as a weapon to prove worth, not as a chain disguised as duty, but as a living current that keeps asking the same question. What kind of person will you be when you have power? Because that was the real choice on Mustafar. Not whether Anakin could win, whether he could stop. So what do you think happens next? Does the galaxy ever truly forgive him? Or does he spend the rest of his life doing good work that still never feels like enough? If you enjoyed this alternate timeline, hit like, subscribe for more Star Wars. What if stories, and may the Force be with you.